Manchester City, man, I was going to say, never out the news really. Off the field, the charges, and those hang over them all the time. On the field, somewhat getting back to their best, with Haaland scoring the only goal of the game just the other day. On Jack Grealish, is the jury still out on Jack Grealish? Grealish has been sidelined at the moment through injury, but certainly when Graham Souness was talking to us the other day, he was saying, at the moment, I'm not seeing the progress in Jack that we should be seeing.
I don't see any changes.
Do you not see?
In fact, I think his stats may be worse at sitting where.
What you mean in offensive positions?
Yes.
But as a player, I think he's become more responsible.
Yeah, maybe in terms of dropping back, more enthusiasm to do the hard yards. That's the yards going back towards your own goal.
Yeah, well, I've seen that last year.
You're not buying that type of player because he defends really well for you. I mean, the priority for someone like that when you spend over, I think, 600 million quid. He's going to be the difference in the big games. He's going to be scoring lots of goals. He's going to be creating lots of goals. None of that's happened. Yeah, he's won some big trophies, but I would argue he's in a very, very good team.
That was Souness talking to the good Mr. Jordan here on your very popular YouTube channel show. Simon and Souness, properly billed, of course, as it should be, although Souness was contesting the billing of that the other day when he was talking to me. What do you think? Are you seeing the progress of Jack Grealish? When he's fit, when he plays, do you see a difference in him to the Grealish that was at Aston Villa those seasons ago?
Well, I can't say sitting here that he's been a bad signing. I looking at we're missing the point here, really, in terms of he goes to that football club. It's an incredible group of players. Doku's the latest one. And it pushes everybody to another level. They've won 5 trophies last season. I don't think it's questionable. I think maybe Jack was he was introduced to the last game, and it seemed to be that it was almost their best 11 in that very first game against Copenhagen in the Champions League. And you thought, okay, he'll set sail now and we'll see him play for the rest of the season. And he's got injured. And that's just a concern. He's had these shin injuries. He's had a groin injury now. And I think it's just come at the wrong time. I know he spent a month out of the team, but while he's not playing, everybody else knows they've got to give that much. Doku's been magnificent.
But that's not the question Graham was asked.
Yeah, but what I'm saying
is Grealish improving? And I push back on...
Well, he can't improve when you're sitting on the bench.
But over the 2 years that he's been at Manchester City and the 68-odd games that he's played for Manchester City, are we seeing the same traits in Grealish? I would contest that there's different facets of his game that have been enhanced. I think he's become more responsible on the pitch. I think he works harder, and I think that's a prerequisite of playing for Pep Guardiola. But as an attacking offensive player, Graham levies the accusation that he doesn't let go of the ball early enough. But
he invites 3-4 players around him, and that's all. That's a deliberate ploy.
And so it's a subjective opinion about whether he thinks as an offensive player. I've never been a huge admirer of Jack Grealish. I think he's okay. I think he's a good player. Clearly he's a good player.
I think he's a good player.
Clearly he's a good player. But I don't think he's a £100 million footballer. That's not his problem, because someone put a price tag on it and someone was fool enough to pay it. Right? But I think other players at Manchester City have been more impactful. And if you've got a £100 million footballer and he's an offensive player, I think you can look at Jack Grealish and say, has he kicked on in the way that you would anticipate that lots of players do when they pay for Pep Guardiola? And I don't think it's an unreasonable observation for Souness to say...
I think there's much more discipline to his game. I think there's much more structure.
That's the point I made with Graham.
I think when he was playing for Villa, it was basically sort of off the cuff. You go and you make the difference wherever you can. That doesn't happen with Pep. I think he's bought into that. I've seen him running back many occasions. Brilliant defensive tackles. He's got a great energy. He's got real pace. For me, he's just not quite fit enough at the minute. He's had distractions away from the game.
We're almost into March, so
he's had inconsistencies.
Yeah.
But when they sort of get to this stage of the season, they change gear, and I think Jack was a part of that, but he's got injured just at the wrong time.
Jim, that in the 2 years or so that he's been at Manchester City, is it nearly 3 now, isn't it?
I think the point's a good one, Simon. I would have expected him to be, when fit, to be playing on a more consistent basis, on a more regular basis. But for whatever reason, that has not been happening.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the TalkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. TalkSPORT.